Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. I wanted to do a little bit of a different video today. I wanted to talk with you guys about a recent major kind of issue that just came up, and that's the relationship between gaming press and developers. Now, before we jump into that discussion, I want to do two things. I want to tell you who I am, and I also want to let you know what brought this about. So, as an introduction, my name is Dennis Duhamel. Here on the internet, I go by the name of Force, and I've been running a YouTube channel full-time for 2.5 years now. I've had the channel for 3 years. The first 6 months, it was more of a hobby, but then it became something that I could do for a living. The point of that is that for a living, I discuss and cover video games. I do gaming news, I do first impressions, and I just give my general opinion on games and developers, publishers, things like that. So, in a way, I would say that I'm part of the gaming press. I make a living talking about and discussing video games. Now, the incident that brought this up, so there was this huge back and forth between Marcus Beer and Phil Fish. Now, Marcus Beer is someone who's been in the industry for a long time. He's done everything from PR to being someone who covers games, being in gaming press. And Phil Fish is the guy behind Fez, head of Polytron, and the person who was working on Fez 2 before the game was canceled. So what brought up this discussion about the relationship between developers and gaming press? Well, Marcus Beer, on an episode of Invisible Walls, which is a game trailer show where they talk about gaming news and stuff like that, he went on a rant about Phil Fish and absolutely bashed him, name-calling, calling him a tosspot and a hipster, which, by the way, as a full-grown adult with gray hair, should be awfully embarrassing. Name-calling is something you do when you're a child, not when you're an adult. I actually really was sort of embarrassed for him, the fact that he came out and said those things. And what's most embarrassing, though, is the reason he said it. Now, Phil Fish is a very polarizing individual. He said some things that many people have made many people upset. But the reason he was insulting him was just, well, asinine, to be perfectly honest with you. So what happened was we have the Microsoft announcement that they're going to be deciding to let developers self-publish on the platform. This is pretty big news. They wanted an interview with Phil Fish about this because he's a pretty big guy in the indie environment. And he said no. And the reason behind him saying no actually turned out to be he was waiting for an official announcement from Microsoft, which when they asked him for the interview hadn't happened yet. But he said no in his own way, as Phil Fish always does, in sort of an abrasive manner. And what happens here is that on this episode of Invisible Walls, Marcus Beer not only name calls him tosspot and hipster, again, baffling, but also says that gaming press are entitled to getting interviews and getting quotes from developers because we cover games. What? How does that correlate? How does that even make sense? It completely blows my mind. Now, there was this whole back and forth between the two on Twitter, and it eventually ended in Phil Fish saying that Fez 2 was canceled. Apparently, that's not a result of this argument between the two, but it sort of looked that way. The point is, though, this argument happened, and what I wanted to specifically discuss is the notion that as gaming press, developers owe us anything, which I don't believe whatsoever. Now, the relationship between developers and press is a symbiotic relationship, meaning that we benefit each other. They make the games, we cover the games, give them publicity, they get more sales, and we can, do what we do because of the games they make. But I'd like to bring it all back to basics here, and let's really understand what's going on with this relationship. The only reason I am able to do what I can do, and the only reason that Marcus Beer and anyone else who covers games and makes a living off of it can do those things are because of the people who make the games. They don't owe us anything. It's because of them that we can do what we're doing. If anything, we owe them stuff, and I'm not crapping on myself or anyone else in the gaming press, but let's just be honest here. I put up a post on Twitter the other day, just sort of a general response to this to get people thinking, and I think it's relevant here. What I said was that it's difficult to create and it's easy to criticize. And that's the truth. I mean, we've got people who are working on games for so long, months and months and years, and then we consume them in a matter of hours and we instantly judge and pass that judgment and then move along. That's a very easy process for something that took someone a lot of blood, sweat, and tears over years. I didn't mean to rhyme, just sort of happened. But honestly, I mean, think about it. It's kind of ridiculous. And I understand people who review games and gaming press aren't necessarily the same, but I kind of look at them the same because it's sort of something that I do, and it's something that I've thought about before. The notion that I am judging these games without actually having the experience of ever making games in the past myself. However, I came to the realization that I am judging games based on my experience of playing games as a consumer, and I'm relaying that information to other people. But what I would say is that if you are going to be abusive and insulting, or if you're just going to be negative about something, you better have some damn good reasons. And for what Marcus Beers did, I don't think he had a damn good reason. In fact, he was flipping out and insulting someone, their game, and just them as a person based on misinformation, because Phil Fish didn't not do an interview because he wanted to be annoying. He didn't do an interview because he was waiting for an official announcement before he discussed the matter. And it just leads me to, I guess, my final point, which is, once again, if you're gonna be a dick, you better have a damn good reason. That's all I gotta say about that. So yes, there is a symbiotic relationship between gaming press and developers, but again, we're here because they exist, not the other way around. If no one covered games anywhere, if there was no such thing as gaming press, games could still exist. It doesn't work the other way around. Sorry. All right, guys, that is going to do it. Once again, just wanted to have a little bit of a discussion. Let me know what you think. I know I typically don't swear. I like to try to keep composed when I have discussions, but this was a very frustrating matter to me, and I just wanted to lay it all out there. So there you go. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like the content, please subscribe to the channel. I do gaming news, coverage of new releases, and all sorts of fun stuff. So thanks again for watching. Keep watching and keep owning.